Surprising yet rarely noticed, modern society stands on trust, the very concept we often call faith in Islam. Is this true? Let's break down the logic. Islam does not merely regulate what is permitted or forbidden. More importantly, it shapes how humans are meant to think. Islam strictly prohibits gambling in all its forms. This prohibition is often understood only as an effort to prevent social harm and moral decay. Yet in reality, it carries a much deeper meaning. Gambling is not merely a financial issue. It is a problem of how the mind operates. It cultivates a speculative mindset, one that relies on chance and uncertainty rather than clarity and certainty. Islam, on the other hand, trains human beings to think in the opposite way, to stand on clarity, order, and certainty, not on guesswork, and certainly not on speculation. This principle applies most critically to the foundation of all foundations, faith. In Islam, faith is not built on blind acceptance, but trust that emerges from certainty. For many people, this idea may sound unusual. How can faith be associated with certainty when the object of faith lies beyond direct sensory perception and cannot be easily verified? But it is precisely here that a deeper question arises. How could God provide guidance to humanity, yet leave human beings confused and unable to ascertain its truth? Even in everyday life, people are unwilling to trust something if its truth rests merely on chance. Any claim that seeks to be trusted must offer parameters by which its truth can be recognized. If human beings themselves demand certainty before believing, does it make sense that God, the very source of truth, would ask for faith without providing a foundation of certainty? To gain a proper understanding of faith in Islam, the first thing we must examine is the history of the prophets and messengers, those who received revelation and were tasked with conveying it to humanity. Throughout this history, one consistent pattern clearly emerges. Every messenger who brought revelation was accompanied by an extraordinary and distinctive sign, something unmistakably beyond ordinary human capability. This sign functioned as a guarantee of truth. It confirmed that the person was truly a messenger of God, and that the message he delivered was indeed divine revelation, not a product of speculation, fabrication, or personal interest. These signs of truth are commonly known as miracles. History offers clear examples of this pattern. Prophet Abraham was unharmed by fire. Prophet Moses, by God's permission, used his staff to part the sea. Prophet Jesus, by God's permission, gave life to the dead and formed a bird from clay. And ultimately, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sent with a different kind of miracle, the Qur'an. Not a momentary spectacle, but a living sign of truth, one that can be examined, studied, and reflected upon across generations. Without such signs of truth, it would be impossible for people to know whether someone was truly a messenger of God or merely claiming divine authority. For this reason, people's trust in the prophets and their acceptance of the revelations they conveyed was never based on chance or speculation, but on verifiable signs of truth that accompanied them. This is the foundation of faith in Islam. And when we look carefully at the history of the prophets and messengers, it becomes clear that Islamic faith has always been grounded in certainty, not in guesswork, and certainly not in speculation. In Islam, faith does involve believing in realities that cannot be directly known or perceived by human senses, such as paradise and hell, angels, life after death, Satan, and God. These realities lie beyond sensory experience and even beyond the mind's ability to verify them directly. However, belief in these unseen realities does not stand in a vacuum. It becomes reasonable and valid to accept because it is grounded in signs of truth that guarantee the credibility of the source itself. Interestingly, this model of belief is not foreign to modern society at all. In fact, it is the very foundation upon which modern civilization stands: mutual trust across fields and professions, built upon verifiable signs of credibility. When we purchase medicine from a pharmacy, we do not personally know every substance contained within it, yet we trust and use it because it is accompanied by clear indicators of reliability, traceable brands, regulated standards, and oversight from authorized governmental institutions. Similarly, when we trust someone's professional expertise, we do not re-examine their entire educational journey. We accept their competence based on diplomas, certifications, and verifiable professional records. Even in something as ordinary as purchasing halal food, we may not know every detail of its ingredients or preparation, yet we trust that it is halal because of an official certification issued by a recognized authority. This pattern of trust operates across nearly every domain of modern life. It is not new nor temporary. It has been functioning for centuries and continues to shape the world we live in today. If we accept this model of trust in almost every aspect of our lives, why should it suddenly be considered irrational when it comes to faith? Human beings, in essence, are a product. They had no involvement whatsoever in designing the universe, nor any role in determining their own existence. As a result, left on their own, human beings do not truly know what the purpose of all this is, where everything is ultimately heading, or what the real meaning of their lives might be. Yet these are the most fundamental questions of all, because the answers to them determine what human beings ought to do during their extremely limited time on Earth. It is precisely for this reason that Islam comes into the picture. Not to replace human reason, but to complete and perfect human knowledge in the domain that reason alone can never fully reach. Islam exists so that human existence does not lose its direction, does not remain trapped in endless doubt, and does not end in meaninglessness. And so that human beings are not asked to believe without certainty, God, the one and only, accompanied every messenger and every divine guidance with a sign of truth, a kind of divine signature that is impossible for human beings to counterfeit. This is what Islam refers to as miracles. Therefore, faith in Islam is not a conviction born out of speculation, nor a retreat in the face of the limits of reason. Islamic faith is belief in revelation, grounded in guaranteed truth, affirmed by signs that come from God Himself. A faith that gives direction, gives meaning, and ensures that human existence is not merely endured, but truly significant. So the question is no longer whether faith is rational, but whether human beings can truly live without a clear and certain sense of direction.